Welcome to Manchester United News Update. Subscribe for more Manchester United news, match previews, and transfer updates. Man United lay down the law to Ruben Amorim with first transfer message. New Manchester United boss Ruben Amorim will not be backed in the January transfer window, with the club's hierarchy hoping he can improve results using the current players. Manchester United will not back new boss Ruben Amorim in the upcoming January transfer window, with the 39-year-old challenged to get the best out of the current squad. Amarim is set to take charge of his first game this weekend when United travel to Portman Road to face newly promoted Ipswich Town, having inherited a squad that has picked up just 4 wins in 11 Premier League games so far. United spent over £200 million in the summer as they backed former boss Erik ten Hag with the big money additions of Joshua Zirkzee, Leny Yoro, Matthijs de Ligt, Noussair Mazraoui and Manuel Ugarte. As a result of that spending spree, ESPN are reporting that United will have a tight transfer budget heading into January. The report states that Amarim has told he cannot rely on making new signings, with the club's new hierarchy unwilling to rip up the current group of senior players. Amarim will have a say in United's transfer business, but sporting director Dan Ashworth and technical director Jason Wilcox are now largely in charge following Sir Jim Ratcliffe's purchase of a stake in the club. The report also states that United are unlikely to go on another significant spending spree over the next 3 years, with Amarim looking to build around the current players. The Portuguese tactician is set to use the 3-4-3 system he had so much success with at Sporting. I know how I am going to play in the beginning because you have to start with a structure that you know and then you will adapt with the players that you have. Amorim explained his final match in charge of Sporting, injuries or no injuries, what kind of players, the abilities to defend, to attack. I will discover that in the next few weeks. We don't have a lot of time to train, so I have to show something that I know very well. Amarim has received a boost after captain Bruno Ferandes trained with the squad for the first time after returning early from international duty. The likes of Marcus Rashford, Casemiro, Kobbie Mainoo, Mason Mount, Luke Shaw, Johnny Evans and Yoro all took part in Amarim's first training session on Monday. Man United told somebody should be fired after £200 million transfer decision backfires. Manchester United have spent heavily under Sir Jim Ratcliffe following his arrival at the club, and the Red Devils have been told to sack a member of their recruitment team as a result. Manchester United have been told to fire members of their recruitment team after Ruben Amorim's £200 million transfer blow. The Red Devils have spent heavily since Sir Jim Ratcliffe's arrival at Old Trafford just under a year ago. United spent over £180 million on 5 new arrivals in the Ineos owners' first summer window. They spent huge figures on Leny Yoro, Matthijs de Ligt, Manuel Ugarte and Joshua Zirkzee. Noussair Mazraoui was also among those signed in what was a recruitment drive seemingly inspired by Erik ten Hag. But the Dutchman did not last particularly long at Old Trafford. Despite penning a new contract in the summer, he was sacked just months later and was replaced by Ruben Amorim. And United's summer spend has left the Portuguese coach in a tricky position. Reports have suggested that the club are now restricted to a modest budget as they attempt to bolster the side. Richard Keys has now hit out at the club's decision-makers for allowing their huge investment if they were going to sack ten Hag anyway. Taking to Twitter, he said, "Every briefing coming out of OT underlines what a cataclysmic mistake it was keeping Ten toast last summer. They let him spend another £200 million plus on rubbish and now there's nothing for Amarim. Somebody in the Brains Trust should be fired. There's nothing for Amarim to work with." Despite the criticism, United's recruitment team have remained positive with their work. It was claimed earlier this season that the panel of chiefs, including CEO Omar Berrada, sporting director Dan Ashworth and technical director Jason Wilcox, believed that they had only overpaid for one summer signing. Who should Manchester United sign in the summer? Share your thoughts in the comments below. It was suggested that the Red Devils only paid the asking price for former Lille star Leny Yoro, the rest of their signings being recruited for lower than their market value. Despite that, new United boss Amarim may be forced into tricky decisions in an effort to generate some much-needed funds. It has already been suggested that the Red Devils would be willing to cut their losses on £81 million winger Antony. January also represents their last opportunity to earn fees for Christian Eriksen, Victor Lindelof. Man United, in talks, to sign perfect Bruno Ferandes replacement. Manchester United are reportedly in talks to sign RB Salzburg youngster Oscar Gluck, and he could be eyed as a replacement for Bruno Ferandes. At the age of just 20, Gluck has been labelled one of the most talented attacking midfielders in Europe, scoring goals and providing assists in Austria's top league. The youngster only moved to Salzburg from Maccabi Tel Aviv, back in his home country for Israel, in 2023, and he's flourishing in the Austrian football Bundesliga. In the 2024-2025 season so far, Gluck has scored 5 goals and provided 2 assists in 9 appearances, playing a total of 586 minutes. The 20-year-old has also represented his country at senior level 18 times during his short career. According to a report from Attacking Footy, Manchester United and Arsenal are in talks with Gluck ahead of the January transfer window. No final decision has been made in regards to his future at Salzburg, but it's understood that he has plenty of interest and his next step will become clearer in the coming weeks. Gluck, described as a magician, has predominantly played as an attacking midfielder during his career, while also featuring out wide at times. Although he might not be at the level that is required to feature regularly right now for United, he could be a long-term option for the Red Devils as they look to build under new manager Ruben Amorim. Mason Mount was signed by Erik ten Hag back in 2023 for a fee of around £55 million from fellow Premier League side Chelsea, but it's not quite worked out for him so far at Old Trafford. This term, Mount has played just 146 minutes in England's top flight, while only featuring for 514 minutes in the whole of last season. Amarim's system sees 2 players playing just behind the striker, and Gluck could be a good fit. Ferandes is likely to be a candidate to play in this role, but at the age of 30, United will eventually need to find a long-term replacement. Ferandes' contract at Old Trafford isn't set to expire until 2027, but Ineos should be looking to find the next version of the Portuguese star. A huge problem that United have had in recent years is spending hefty fees on players, rather than investing in young talent from around the world. The former Sporting CP midfielder signed for a fee which could total £68 million, a huge price, certainly at the time. Securing the signature of a player like Gluck from Salzburg will likely cost a fraction. Man United Transfer News Live, Victor Osimhen swap claim, Gyökeres interest, Branthwaite update. The latest Manchester United news and transfer gossip ahead of Ruben Amorim's first game in charge in the Premier League against Ipswich Town. Manchester United are gearing up for their first game under Ruben Amorim when take on Ipswich Town at Portman Road on Sunday. The Portuguese boss, who arrived at Old Trafford last week, officially began his duties earlier this week as he looks to guide the club forward. There are just 6 weeks until the January transfer window reopens in the new year, which will give Amarim plenty of time to figure out whether reinforcements will be needed. After spending more than £200 million on transfers last summer, United could have a more restricted budget to operate with this time around. The club have also dished out around £35 million in compensation. Around £10 million was paid to Newcastle United for sporting director Dan Ashworth, while around £17 million will be handed out to Erik ten Hag in sacking payout. Ahead of what could be a busy new year for the Reds nonetheless, the Manchester Evening News will keep you up to date with all the latest news and transfer gossip around United. A reunion between Amarim and his former player Victor Gyökeres continues to do the rounds, but whether that will happen remains to be seen. Ruben Amorim transfer budget. The Telegraph have suggested the new United manager will only have a modest budget to spend ahead of the January transfer window. £200 million was spent on transfers last summer, while United have paid out around £35 million in compensation for Dan Ashworth, Amarim and Erik ten Hag. The report adds the club chiefs are keen to stop heavy spending of playing squads in a bid to add stability to the first team. Man United plot plan for Ruben Amorim favourite. Portuguese news outlet A Bola, United are pressing ahead to try and sign Giovanni Quenda to add to Amarim's squad. The report claims that United want to swiftly reach an agreement with Sporting to sign Quenda. United will reportedly submit an offer in excess of €40 million, £33.5 million, although it remains to be seen if Sporting will stand firm with a fee closer to the player's release clause of €100 million, £83 million. However, reports elsewhere have previously claimed that United will face competition from Newcastle and Chelsea for Quenda's signature. The 17-year-old has scored 2 goals with 2 assists in 18 appearances for Sporting CP.